Welcome to the garden. Today I'm doing some uppotting, dividing, transplanting, repotting of some of our 60 new succulents. I want to start with a little surprise. This Haworthia has actually flowered. This started with this long stem with a little tiny bud on the top like asparagus. But now these are starting to bloom. A lot of succulents flower like this with long stems separate from the main plant. This one recently flowered, and this just broke off today as we transported the plant. But look at how long that stem is. It's just amazing. And this is still just beautiful, even though the flowers have dried. So I might try planting these out to see if we got any seeds. This purple one up front has been struggling for a long time. So I'm just gonna repot it in the same container, just freshen up the soil and see if that helps. So first I'm just gonna remove it from its container, just giving the pot a light squeeze on the bottom and the sides. And we'll see how much of that soil comes out. There really wasn't much gripping onto those roots. So I'm gonna plant this a lot deeper, and hopefully these roots along the stem can help out the plant. I dumped out the rest of that old soil just in case it was bad and added some of our succulent potting mix. Just got a little bit in the bottom to start because we're gonna plant this nice and deep with those bottom leaves right about at pot level. Now we'll just backfill it around with that same succulent potting mix, and hopefully that'll take care of it. Perfect. Give this a little drink. Using the spray bottle so we can clean up those leaves. Next up, we'll be uppotting this really fuzzy succulent. This is putting on a lot of new growth, so I want to give it more space. It's in kind of a small pot right now, so we're going to upgrade it to this big terracotta pot. And this has a large hole at the base, so I've got a little curved shard of terracotta so that we can cover that hole. That way our dry potting soil isn't going to rush out the base, but water can still make its way through. We'll start with just enough of our succulent potting mix to where this can sit right about at the depth we want. Then we'll support our plant because this is a much larger one. And just give it a little squeeze here until it releases. It's got a gorgeous set of roots on it, and it looks really healthy. So hopefully it'll put on a bunch of new growth. This is one that propagates really well from leaf cuttings. So if we do break off any leaves, we'll make sure to save them. We've even got a volunteer leaf cutting here that's sprouted new growth already. And I have the soil tilted a little bit so that the plant can be straight. Developed a little bit of a lean, so we're just correcting that. So we'll backfill with that same succulent potting mix. Just a really inexpensive potting soil with a little added perlite. I don't want to bury our little leaf cutting. There it is. Next, we're going to separate this plant from this little grouping. And there were 4 plants in here. I think this is the last of one of them. We'll start by just getting rid of that. And these two are either the same plant or they look so much alike, we're gonna keep them in this pot. I really like pairing an orange colored plant in an orange colored pot. But this one is kind of losing its orange color and is more bright green. First, I'm just gonna try to remove the plant without disturbing the other ones. See if I can dig down underneath it a little bit. Oh, it's anchored in pretty good, so we're actually going to remove all the plants, separate this one, and then repot the others in the same pot. So I'll gently tip it over. This is a pretty stiff plastic, so I'm just going to have to kind of give it a shake and a pull. There we go. We broke off a leaf, but it already had some roots, so that'll make a nice little leaf cutting. Now I have some pieces of terracotta down here. just to improve the drainage down low. And it looks like the roots don't mind at all. So we'll probably re-add those when we go to repot this. But I just want to remove them for now to get a better look at what those roots are doing. Okay, so we'll trace our plant here and just very gently kind of dig into that soil and try to pull it apart. Try to find a natural break and just slowly separate these plants. I don't want to sever any roots if I don't have to. Try and keep that soil intact as much as we can. There we go. That's beautiful. Look at all that beautiful soil. And now we'll repot these in this same container. So again, I'm going to add these terracotta shards. They just help with the drainage. And it fills a little bit of the bottom of that pot. This plastic does not breathe like terracotta, so it can stay wet for a lot longer if we're not careful. Now we'll get these back in the pot. I'm going to get these a little bit closer to the center of the container since they're all by themselves. And we'll backfill in around, fill in all those gaps that we created, give it a tap to settle it, and that is ready to water in. I've got an empty container this time because this one has a lot of roots on it. We're going to plant it all by itself, a little bit deeper than it was. There we go. It's as simple as that. Now all we have left to do is divide these blue succulents. And I want to try to pick the bluest one to repot into this blue planter. I also have these back here that I want to divide as well. So we'll do that at the same time. So we'll start with the harder one. Literally. These pots are a little bit more difficult because you can't squeeze the sides to loosen the soil. Just loosen up those edges a little bit. Otherwise the roots will grip it and you can actually break the plant trying to remove it. And you know what? I think we can actually remove this one by itself right now. This is the weakest of the three. It doesn't have many roots. I'm going to clean up the stem here to make sure we don't have any pest problems. Actually looks pretty good. So again, like our purple one, we'll plant it nice and deep. That way it'll hopefully grow new roots and get a little bit stronger. Now these two are probably pretty intertwined at the roots. So I'm just going to use this kind of natural rift to just lightly pull them apart. There we go. I don't know, I think the one on the left has got a little bit more blue and purple color to it. This one's got a little bit more green. But we actually have this plant back here too. Let's take a look at that. I'm in no rush to repot these. These can actually sit out for days or weeks without being replanted. They actually like that sometimes. Wow, it's so much easier with a plastic pot. And let's just separate these down into individual plants. Not much going on with this one. It's got a pretty small set of roots, so we might even down pot it just to save space. This one's actually flowering. Not very attractive flowers because I think it's kind of struggling. We had another one down here, and this is what we were after. Look at that beauty. Let's compare it with the other blue one. Side by side here. Man, they're pretty close. They're both just beautifully blue. This one seems a bit darker blue actually, which I kind of like for that dark blue pot. So we might just find new containers for all of these. And I think we have a winner. I'm going to plant this one a little bit deeper as well. So again, we'll clean up a lot of these bottom leaves. Ooh, looks like we have some nice roots along that stem. You see that? That's a great sign. It usually kind of means they're thirsty, but if we increase that watering schedule, I think it's going to thrive. Wow, look at all those roots. That's awesome. So I want to plant it nice and deep, right up to where those roots start. So we'll go ahead and get this right at the bottom of the container. Just try to hold this in the center until we can backfill in around it. That way it'll get nice and anchored in with all that soil. We can kind of hold the pot and the plant so that it doesn't shift around. Wow, that looks great. And the rest of these we'll just plant out in any old random containers I can find. These last two can just get paired together in this little pot, just for now until they put on a little bit more growth. Now for my favorite part. I'm gonna clean them up and water them in at the same time. I'm just gonna start with the spray bottle and then we'll move on to a larger watering can. I hope you enjoyed this succulent update. If you did, let me know in the comments or with a thumbs up. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.